I would say we can kick it off. Mohit, you there? Hello.
Yeah, hey. Okay.
Sure. I think let's get started. I would say we are on time.
Yeah, I think we can get started here.
Cool. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining. I am Gino Matthew. Welcome to the Experience Cloud session around best practices design with regards to designing and building and deployment. I think we can quickly introduce ourselves. So I'm Gino Matthew. I'm a product manager on Experience Cloud. I'm based out of San Francisco, California, and I've been at Salesforce for over 6 years now. Over to you, Mohit.
Hey everyone, my name is Mohit. I'm a developer advocate here at Salesforce, working as a part of developer relations. I've been in Salesforce ecosystem for almost a decade now, and I lately moved to Salesforce itself, where I produce content and blogs for our developer community. Over to you, George.
I don't see George actually.
Maybe Manish, you can go ahead. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I can introduce George too. So George and I are both outbound product manager on Experience Cloud and been on Experience Cloud Ohana for like almost 5+ years.
Okay, we can move on to next slide. Before we start, always the favorite slide, forward-looking statement. Please base your purchasing decision based on the features that's available in the product and not something on our product roadmap. First of all, thank you. I just want to take a moment to thank everybody who has joined our whole developer ecosystem. Thank you for all the collaboration and all the solutions that you guys built on our platform, which has really made us successful. And so thank you for joining the session and looking forward to providing some good and making the session more productive as we go along. Okay, what do we have from an agenda perspective? So from an agenda perspective, I'll take a minute to quickly talk about the evolution of Experience Cloud. And then we have a case study today called AZ Insurance, which we're going to take the case study and talk about the design, the build, and the deploy aspect around it. And as we go along, we'll provide some of the good pointers, guidances, and best practices around design, build, and deploy. And finally, we will wrap it up with a Q&A session. Cool. Okay. Next
All
slide.
right. I've been asked to hold up the session for a couple of minutes here from Shashank. So let's hold it off for a couple of minutes, and then we can proceed, if that's okay, Gino.
Sure.
Oh, there are people that are actually transitioning from the previous session. So we'll just hold it off for them. Sorry for the inconvenience for those of you who just joined us. Let's give a couple more minutes so that everyone joins.
All right. Yep, sure. Thank you everyone for the patience. So we'll wait. We'll give a few more minutes for folks to join.
Thank you, Gino and Mohit. Yeah.
Thank you.
Let's give a couple more minutes before we start the session. Thank you for the patience. Thank you for waiting here. Okay, I think we can get started again. Thank you, Mohit. Gino, please, can you continue the session?
We'll go from this beginning.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's. So our apologies if it's redundant, but thanks everyone for joining. We'll do a quick round of introduction. So welcome to the Experience Cloud build, design, and deploy session. So I'm Gino Matthew. I'm a product manager on Experience Cloud. Been at Salesforce for over 6 years now. I'm based out of San Francisco, California. Over to you, Mohit.
Hey everyone, my name is Mohit. I'm a developer advocate as a part of developer relations. I've been working on Salesforce platform for almost a decade and been with Salesforce for 2 years as a part of developer relations. We'll have
Okay,
my
sure, I'll do it. I'll introduce both George and myself because George is having some technical issues. So both George and I are outbound product manager on the Experience Cloud and been Salesforce for 6+ years now, and mainly focused on before this we mainly focused on implementing Experience Cloud. So happy to be here. Thank you.
Okay, so our forward-looking statement. We do this for every presentation. Don't make any make your purchasing decision based on the features that you see in our product and not something on our roadmap. Okay, so I want to thank everyone for joining the session, and I want to thank everything you do day in and day out with our product, the solutions that you build. A big thank you to our whole developer ecosystem. We wouldn't be successful without you. So thank you. Okay, what do we have for today's agenda? So today I'm going to spend probably a minute reminding everybody how, as Experience Cloud, we have evolved since our inception and where we are headed to. And then today we'll take a case study called AZ Insurance Use Case, and then we'll talk about the design, build, and deploy approach as we go along the case study. We will provide guidance, best practices, and pointers that you guys can leverage when you solution at your customers. And then finally, we would wrap it up with our Q&A session. Cool. So I'll spend a minute talking about the evolution of our Experience Cloud. So we started our product journey in 2013 as Community Cloud app, if you guys remember. So we started primarily focused on the CRM collaboration use cases and case deflection use cases and chatter. And over time thereafter, we delivered new templates and apps focused on customer portals, PRM, and B2B commerce, really focused on bringing that process integration and that processes through multiple use cases on our platform. And in 2019, we introduced Salesforce CMS as a service. That is our hybrid content solution as a service. And in 2020, given the direction where we are headed, we rebranded Community Cloud as Experience Cloud. And going forward in future, our goal is to power any digital experience any digital experience at scale across multiple customer channels. Um, and also, as part of this, we would be lighting up new templates and apps focused on use cases like high performant, high scale microsite websites, um, industry solutions, and commerce app. With that, Mohit, I would let you kind of describe our case study for today and walk everyone through the solutioning steps.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Gino. Hey, everyone. So for today's case study, we will look into the requirements of this company, AZ Insurance. It's a fictitious insurance company. And, the requirement for AZ Insurance is to actually build an unauthenticated marketing site that anyone can access and learn about AZ Insurance and its offering. So that's one part of the requirement they have. And they also need an authenticated experience for the same site where customers of AZ Insurance can log in, they can access their account information, file a claim, get codes for their various services that AZ Insurance provides. And finally, there is a use case also for employees of AZ Insurance as well, where they will be able to log into a portal, collaborate with each other, view the inbound leads that are coming from this marketing website, approve the customer claims that are happening on the customer experience of the AZ Insurance. So they're looking to design all these experience and trying to bring this product to the market at a really rapid speed. And remember that AZ Insurance are already using Salesforce Sales and Service Cloud for CRM and managing customer support respectively today. That means they already have a lot of their data model and data set up for sales and service. Now they're trying to figure it out how they can expose this data securely to their external partners and customers and the employees. So here are some more case or some more key requirements of the AZ Insurance, and we will solution based on these requirements. Now the requirements can change for you, so it's important that we solution this based on the requirements. So there needs to be a lot of emphasis on this requirement gathering phase. That's what we are trying to communicate through this slide. So AZ Insurance actually is looking for an user interface that they can fully control, including the layouts, the themes. They want to really get it pixel perfect in terms of design, and they want this website to be really performant, and it should render the pages pretty quickly, even in the sub-seconds page download time. And also they want to use the content management, like they're looking for some kind of content management solution to draft, review, and version the content and the assets that they're using in this marketing site. There's some more requirements like time to market here. They're looking to really bring this up, in a very short amount of time. And developers at AZ Insurance would rather want to focus on building the application rather than managing the infrastructure. That means they're looking for a platform which provides out-of-box security, identity services, and it has all the various services. They want to focus only on the business and the application. And there is a requirement to support internationalization, and it has to be multilingual. And in terms of deployment, they're looking to automate it using continuous delivery. So let's see how AZ Insurance sort of approach this from design, build, and deploy perspective. So moving on to the implementation aspect of it, and we'll start with design. So the big part of design in terms of Salesforce is how do we map various users and personas to the license model that Salesforce has. So that's the design consideration number one, because as you can see in this slide, Salesforce offers various different licenses, and these licenses are tied to specific features of the platform, like, for example, number of custom objects that you can access, the file storage, and also various features, like, for example, access to leads and opportunity that's available only for partner relations management type of licenses. And similarly, access to various security features of the platform. So there are various flavors of the licenses, and it's very important to understand your requirement list down the features that you need, and then carefully pick up the license. Now, the consideration that should be taken here, when you're sort of designing or mapping your licenses to the various persona, is you make sure that you leverage Salesforce out-of-box capabilities, so that your go-to market is pretty faster, instead of you having to custom build solutions. Now, also we have this capability of these licenses that we just talked about, like customer community, or customer community plus. They also have this, two different types of licenses. That is, one is, we call it as named licenses or member-based licenses. The other one is login-based licenses. Member-based licenses are usually allocated to a single user. They are like per user-based license. It's pretty much named. While login licenses are something like, you are allocated a set of licenses, let's say an X number of licenses, allocated for a month. And every time a user logs in, we count that as one login. It's basically a daily login that we count, and then we calculate, like, the number of times the users are logging in a month. So there's X amount of licenses that are allocated. So you can always mix and match both the login licenses and the named licenses. There are two variations of it. So the key thing here in understanding, like, or mapping your licenses to persona is you start with the goals and objectives. So you prioritize these these goals, and then you try and figure it out, like, okay, for these specific persona, what are some of the out of box capabilities that Salesforce provides? And then you understand the gaps in these licenses, and also the big aspect of it is also making sure, like, okay, what security features these licenses has. So based on this, you validate the license, and then you come up with a combination of licenses assigned to persona, and this critically drives a lot of your solutioning. So that's why your first step should be to sort of use the licenses. Now, in this example of AZ Insurance, right, there isn't any specific objects that we are going to be like leveraging from Salesforce. So we might just go with customer community, which, as you can see, comes with 10 custom objects, and that should be sufficient to drive the solution. So with that being said, now let's actually look into the build aspect of it, like how to build a solution on Experience Cloud. So the first guiding principle here is to actually choose the right template. And we provide, again, different flavors of template. There are templates with a lot of out-of-box capabilities. One thing to note is these templates come in two different variations now, Aura and LWR. Aura was our previous sort of a runtime engine, and we have improved it significantly with LWR. LWR is a runtime engine which is designed to scale and be performant. But you can see there are various templates that we offer, and depending on your use case and the features, you should actually pick up the template. Again, this is an exercise where you will basically list down all your requirements, see what are the out-of-box components that these templates provide, what are the design considerations for these templates in terms of styling and functionality. And then once you sort of come to a balance, and there also needs to be a balance in terms of dev resources that you have, because some of these templates, like for example, build your own template, it's pretty flexible and powerful. At the same time, it will require dev capability. Okay, so with that being said, let's actually look at the branding options that we have. So when you go to the build, right, you choose the right template here, and then you basically from this point you start like sort of creating the design or the branding, right? So we have a whole spectrum of offering, from like out of box capabilities to making it your own or completely customizing it with the code. So as you can see in the slide, right, the lighting experience builder is what you use to create these pages declaratively using the low code, where you drag and drop the components. And you will see that there are a lot of these templates comes with like out of box components. So what you do is you have to figure it out whether those components are something that you're going to use, how helpful they are, in terms of your design, your actual design that you need. And there are features there as well, like audience targeting, where you personalize the content and the themes based on your data. And also Salesforce CMS Connect. Let's say you're bringing some kind of a content from a third party like WordPress. There are adapters that like CMS Connect provides you those out of box capabilities. So here with Experience Builder, you can go from low code to make it your own, basically. On the higher spectrum here, let's say you need a really pixel perfect site, you're passionate about your branding, and you want to get that fine control. Then you start leaning towards this make it your own sort of template. So in this specific example of AZ Insurance, that's one of the key requirements is they want the pixel perfect control and the performance, and that's why we are choosing make it your own template here, to fulfill the requirements here. Now with that, actually, let's move on to the demo to see this AZ Insurance Experience sites that we have. And note that the code for the AZ Insurance apps is all open source. So it's all available on this Trailhead Apps repository. So you can go to the Trailhead Apps and look for something called AZ Insurance app. So this app is open source. It's available today. It's built by our developer advocates here. We've also provided the steps for you to sort of install this app in your developer environment or push it to a Scratch org using Salesforce DX. So we have provided all the instructions, and I have an org where I've deployed this, and there are also a set of videos that we have sort of launched to explain how we have sort of built this from the code perspective. So you can watch this series. It has all the it talks about all the requirements and how these requirements are solved in terms of code. But I'm going to give you a demo of the site here. So basically we go back here, so you can see there are two different Experience Cloud sites, and this is the one that I want to demo, is this marketing site. So as you can see, the page load is pretty fast. It instantaneously sort of loads. It's actually built using Experience Builder. So you can I can open this in my Experience Builder. And what you'll see here is all of the components that we are using is a custom component that we have built using LWC and Apex. You can see that we have customized the theme. Although we have used the Lightning design system, but you cannot really tell that it is Lightning design system because all of the Salesforce styling is sort of hidden, and we have sort of overwritten with our own custom CSS, right? So that you can actually go and look at here in the head markup. So we have some style sheets in our in our static resource, as you can see, where we have used what we call it as custom property, CSS custom property, and styling hooks to sort of deliver this kind of a custom experience. Also, I wanted to say that even though it is like this website, right, it's all built using Lightning Web Components, and we are using the custom property, CSS property, you still can toggle. You can still toggle the CSS and the themes by just by using basically using the theme editor here. So you should be able to toggle different themes, etc. It still respects these settings that we provide to admins. So it's a pretty comprehensive example of how to sort of build an application with build your own template LWR using our new runtime. And again, as I said, the code for this is all open source. And you can see in my editor, I have the code open, and you can see it's a bunch of Lightning Web Components that are assembled. Also, we show you how to sort of use Apex classes to do some or fetch content resources, etc. Okay. So with that, Gino, why don't I hand it off to you? So there's one more slide. I'll cover that, Gino, and then I'll hand it off to you for the deployment. So one of the things that we've frequently asked is how to improve the site performance So here are some of the techniques, which you can use to improve your site performance, like making sure you're using a CDN, using a Chrome plugin called Community Page Optimizer to find if there are any lighting components that are having a larger load time. Also, there's a little feature called progressive rendering. You can enable that, and that actually significantly improves the performance for you for, let's say, some of the pages where you have too many components, because what it does is progressively renders these components. Okay, with that, Gino, over to you for the deployment story of this AZ insurance app.
Sounds good. Thank you, Mohit. Yeah, I would encourage everyone to go and try out the AZ Insurance GitHub app there. So definitely a pro code approach of building using BYO. Cool. Let's talk about deployment on Experience Cloud. So fundamentally, there are two key approaches for deployment. First is the declarative approach using clicks, and we provide that is basically using chain sets. So if you want to move a site from, let's say, dev to UAT to production, you use chain set, and which is primarily focused on clicks. You create a chain set, you push the site from dev to UAT to production. The other approach we have is primarily programmatic, like MD APIs. Using APIs, you can use the APIs, you can pretty much use an AND tool and hook into the MD API, download the whole site metadata, and kind of create that CI/CD pipeline using various dev tools or even the ISV tools, and put it in version control, version it, and then have that kind of integrated CI/CD pipeline established for your enterprise. So primarily, those are two approaches. The con with the previous the declarative approach um, is that it's not really integrated with the version control, and that's why I've seen primarily customers focus on programmatic experience where you really can use APIs and then kind of have that versioned source of truth in your version control, and then be able to deploy sites uh, in an automatic fashion and a continuous delivery fashion. Okay, next slide, please. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure, I don't know if folks here are familiar with Experience Bundle metadata. So it's a new MD type that we introduced maybe over a year ago now. It's not that new, I would say, which is really previously, if you see right on the left side, when you previously used an MD API and pulled the site down, it was pretty much in a blob fashion. It was really unreadable. So we moved from the blob approach or the blob type to kind of JSON representation of our site metadata, which then enables our developers and our release engineers to kind of merge the code, kind of to be able to have to cite the differences between multiple developers and those parallel pipelines. So definitely a great step forward in enabling the CI/CD and automation around release pipelines. So it's kind of a JSON representation of our site, our web pages, our brandings, and our components. Since I've touched upon Experience Bundle, if you see, I want to kind of call out, right? Like when we try to deploy a site from, let's say, from a dev or to a production, Experience Bundle is one of the metadata type that supports different, like for example, if you see the middle blue boxes, it shows what Experience Bundle metadata supports. It supports a route for a site, a views, themes, config, and branding sets and variations. So having just Experience Bundle APIs and metadata is not sufficient for you to move your site from dev to UAT to production. There are other references your site might have. So for example, your site might have a reference to content, like CMS content. You may be using CMS content. Now, that is not part of the metadata. Today, the only way you move CMS content is using import export. We're really coming up with a different metadata, combined metadata for site and content on our roadmap, which would make it easier for you to kind of move sites and references to content. But there are other things like your standard objects, your fields, your components, your Apex classes, the network and custom settings, the audiences, the navigation menu. So these are all other references that your site might have. So you want to make sure that you're creating if you're using an AND tool, you're creating a package.xml with all those MD types so that you're able to move those all metadata with the site references to UAT to production. So I think the bottom line on this slide is Experience Bundle just covers part of your site metadata. You want to make sure that you consider other MD and metadata APIs which your sites consume. So yeah, I want to take a step further as well. Since Experience Bundle kind of covers most of the site metadata, you want to be able to understand how these are really linked. And I think we will surely share out these decks. So fundamentally, we want to understand how these metadatas are linked to each other. For example, right, like a site, let's say you have a site like how we have AZ Insurance. The site may have a reference to a route may have a reference to a page, a view is a page, and on a page there could be components, there could be regions, and there could be a lot of things in there, right? Like there's apps in there, themes in there, there's theme layouts, there's branding sets. So the realization that everything is like kind of connected and references and um, uh, is key when you kind of go through merging. Let's say if you're merging across two developers, you want to make sure these references are not broken, right? So understanding that as part of your solutioning of deployment and when you move your sites from one org to the other is important. So as long as you keep the references intact, when you merge and slice and dice your sites as you go to production and UAT to different across multiple developers or parallel pipelines, you should be good. Okay, so we spoke about the two approaches, right? We had one which was the declarative approach, which was pretty much click, 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 and you deploy sites to production, right, using chain set. The other one was using APIs, uh, and depending on your enterprise maturity, there are various ways and tools you can use, right? DX, as part of our DX solution, our product suite, you have our CLI that you can use, but there are other ISV partners like GearSet, Copado, Flowsum that they focus on providing that click experience with this programmatic efficiency. So definitely take a look at those solutions depending on your enterprise skill set and maturity. These ISV partners have built solutions, deployment solution on Experience Cloud that makes it very easy for you to track your whole software development life cycle. So take a look into these solutions.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, some of the best practices and consideration, right? Like when you have multiple developers or multiple projects or multiple pipelines working on a single site, some of the best practice make sure that when you create a website, one developer should kind of create a site and then everybody should just add to it, right? Rather than the first time you create a site, let's say in our case, AZ Insurance, developer one goes and creates that site, pushes to Git, and then dev two kind of pulls that, developer two kind of pulls that and then adds to it, right? So create that shell first for your site, and then you keep adding to it. Don't create multiple sites for the same site and then try to merge across. I think kind of the best practice, and so try to follow that. And also, like, there are some, let's say if your site has some references to some dashboards or reports, there could be some tight references or some IDs that get changed when you move from test to UAT, and those reports and dashboards could be kind of broken because of those IDs. We are definitely fixing those. We've addressed a lot of those issues, but it's good to know that those kind of gaps exist so that you can go and kind of manually update those references. But that's something we want to address on our roadmap. I think we've addressed a lot of those hard-coded connections. And the other thing we have is that for content, for CMS content, we don't really have an MD API yet. We do have import and export. So definitely that's a consideration when you think about deploying content references. As long as you use import and export across multiple environments, those references stick. So, but I think in going forward in future, we have plans to introduce one metadata type that will support both content and site. So MD type metadata for content is really on our roadmap. And last, one of the other consideration, specifically if you're into building managed packages, is that Experience Bundle is still not yet supported as part of the managed package. If you are thinking of creating managed packages, that's something the Experience Bundle metadata doesn't support it today, but that should not really impact any of your release flows as part of customer enterprise. This is primarily focused on creating packages if you want to, let's say, distribute via app stores, those kind of use cases.
Yeah, and I want to add something here, Gino. Like the AZ insurance is a good example of this experience
Sure.
bundle metadata. So you can actually go look at this experiences folder, and you can go to one of these sites and look at all the JSON that we have, and see the structure of it. And we use this experience bundle metadata to kind of move this from one environment to another. In fact, we open source and write the instructions on how you can sort of deploy these applications and get your Scratch arc working. We are using Experience Bundle metadata behind the scenes for this. And as Gina was saying, the managed content type, like you can move the data model for it. Like let's say, there's a metadata for managed content type, so you can move that, but the data for that still you cannot move. You have to import and export. And if you look at like the AZ insurance instructions, you will see that we have a manual set of instructions on how you can import those CMS content through the import and the export wizard, because it's just manual at this point.
Yep, great point.
Okay, with that, I think we have a lot of time left, or maybe some time left for Q&A.
Yeah, I
And
think
we
I
have
think
George and-
on this slide, it's really we have put on a lot of references. Learn Experience Cloud. I don't know, George or Manish, you want to talk about a little bit about Learn Experience Cloud? I know it's a kind of a one-stop shop for anyone who wants to learn about Experience Cloud. So
Yeah, I can give a quick overview. Basically, we created Learn Experience Cloud about a couple of years ago, and basically it's because, or the primary reason is because we heard from customers that Experience Cloud content and enablement and training and how-to guides and all that are really, really hard to find across the many Salesforce products that we have out there. So we basically launched the site to be sort of like your gateway into anything and everything that has to do with just Experience Cloud from an enablement perspective. And we've tried to cater to like many audiences, from admins to developers to architects, and even to business folks in certain cases. So we've kind of, and on the slide we've linked to a couple of areas that we think are relevant for the developer persona here. So like the development and integrations topic, the sharing and security topic, and then also put a link there for the developer center for Experience Cloud on the developer.salesforce.com site as well. Different site, but also relevant. So yeah, we're always looking for feedback on content and what to add to the site to make it more useful for everybody.
yep, thank you, George. Yeah, so definitely take a look at Learn Experience Cloud. It's the one-stop shop for everything about Experience Cloud. So, and we have added some more resources here for everybody to kind of have a good reference while you're building and kind of designing and building and deploying Experience Cloud solutions.
That was a great session, Gino, Mohit. I believe everyone enjoyed the session because it's an important and very nice session. And most of the questions are being answered by George and Manish. Thank you for that. Almost you have answered all the questions except for a few which just dropped in last few minutes. So one of the question from Stephen is experience bundle only available on source format?
That's a great question. I can actually take that. No, it's not. You should be able to deploy using MD API commands and metadata API commands as well. It's just experiences. That's the folder name. So even if you don't have a format like this, like force app slash main slash default, which is the DX format, we call this as a DX format because some of the things, like for example custom fields and custom objects, are more granular here. Like for example, instead of like one whole XML for custom objects and field, the source format is much better. And we recommend to use this new format. But if you have like an old project where you're finding it hard to convert that source format, or convert your MD API format to this type of folder structure, it's still fine. The experience, it's a metadata API, so you should be able to just use with MD API.
Awesome. I have one suggestion from Adrian. Maybe Gino can take this. Could you look into adding some guidance on help around what you need to do with the Experience Cloud and unlock packages? There's a large post on Reddit group about dependencies, etc.
Yeah. So, and this is something that we really worked on it with a customer use case, Satya, and we'll surely post something on developer.salesforce.com along those lines. We have also heard the feedback around like experience bundle and all these related metadata. There are still gaps, and folks are looking like how you can use something like that in unlock packages. So we'll definitely put some content out there on that.
Yeah, I think if the question was more around whether Experience Bundle is supported in unlock packages, yes, you can definitely. It is supported, and it is not supported in managed packages yet. I think, but in unlock you should be able to.
Yeah, and note that in unlock packages there are a couple of metadata that is not supported. Like for example, I know one of them is your navigation, like default navigation menu and network branding. I think there are a couple of things. I mean, you can go to what we call it as the report. I think it's metadata coverage report. So you can just Google for metadata coverage report, and that report will tell you which metadata items can actually get unlock package and which will not get unlock package. So as long as you find out those metadata and keep it separate from your packaging folder, you should be fine creating unlock packages. As you can see here, it tells you, like for example, as I was saying, right, network branding might be one of the examples where you cannot package it up. Like as you can see, network branding is available in MD API source tracking, but not in unlock packages. So if you have a package which has a network branding, it will fail. It will fail to package because this entity is not supported.
Yeah, this is a very good website to have handy when you're working with MD types. So,
Yeah.
yep.
Yes, it costs a lot. We have one question from Jack. He says, like, will scratch off snapshots support Experience Cloud? So what he means is the Experience Cloud will be automatically set up and configured as part of creation process, creation creation configured and all.
Yeah, I unfortunately I don't know. I have answer for that with snapshots. I never worked with like snapshots, and so maybe we take this question to the right product management here, like Rohit and the team which works on arc snapshots, and get you an answer from them.
Thank you for that, Mohit. So if anyone has any question, if you want to interact with the product managers, we're still left with a couple of minutes. You can just ask us to share your audio and video. We can do that. You can directly ask your questions here. So, do you have anything else to share with the participants today? Gino, Mohit, George, and Manish. Any guides, any guidance, anything where they can reach out for the documentation of course, you've shared the
Yeah, we'll
easy
share out.
app.
We'll definitely share out the decks. So there's quite a few references that we have added here, and I would say like Learn Experience Cloud. Visit that. Take a look at the AZ Insurance GitHub repo that talks about the LWR BYO sites. There's code out there. There's reference code out there. That's a great reference. So yeah.
Yeah, and one thing I liked is this Experience Cloud GitHub organization. Um, I'm already kind of started to look into some of these content that I think George and team are building, or yeah, I see George actually building some of the code. So this is an interesting repo. It's called Salesforce Experience Cloud. And some of the newer stuff I can see, like for example, if somebody has questions around, okay, how do I integrate like Interaction Studio of Marketing Cloud with Experience Cloud, George has got you covered with an example app. Similarly, if you have like how to use third-party scripts like Google Analytics inside an LWR site, there is one repo here which shows you how to do that. So keep following that as well. It's a really nice add-on to the resources that we have, and should thank George here for putting this out.
Yeah,
That's
thanks for the call.
awesome.
Yeah, it's we're starting to add more and more content. Like I think there's only a couple of repos on there, but it's a newer organization, and we are trying to add more developer examples and integration pattern examples and POCs and whatnot. So more to come. Thank you.
And lastly, I will add like one other good resource you have is the Trailblazer community. If you're not the member, the Experience Cloud group is very active. We all are very active on that. So that is another resource you can always ask a question if you have.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks for
that's a great
bringing that,
point.
Manish.
Yeah, that's a great
Yeah.
one, Manish. Yeah.
And I believe Mohit, do we have those references? I think we have those references
Yeah.
here, right? The
Yeah.
Trailblazer community as well. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, and I'll add it up. I'll see if there is anything that's missing here. Like Trailblazer communities definitely should be there here in the additional references section. I'll make sure to link the group name, like the exact group name of the Experience Cloud.
Perfect.
That's
Thank you.
that sounds like a plan. Thank you for that. And with that, we are almost on time. We are in fact just on time. And thank you, Irfan, for joining this session. And special thanks to Mohit, Gino, George, and Manish for taking all your questions and delivering such a great session. But before, I just want to also remind you all that there is one more session that's going to happen. It's not exactly a session, but it's going to be a fun event where you are going to play a fun game, which is totally built using Lightning Web Components. So anyone who is here currently, I request you all to switch to a different session for the fun game. It's listed there in the sessions tab, if you can see on the left side. You can click there and you can join the fun game session. With that, I'd like to thank you everyone who joined this session, and thanks to the speakers.